Hello, everybody. Welcome to VectorLab. Today, we're going to discuss how you can build an AI-powered travel agent using Databricks. And so with us, we have today Merve and Alexander. So can you guys introduce yourself? Merve?
Yeah. So first, thanks for having us here. I'm Merve, and I'm working at Databricks as specialist solutions architect in Germany, and I specialize in machine learning, data science, and generative AI topics.
Amazing. Thanks. And Alexander?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alex. I'm short for Alexander, right? I'm in the Swiss team of the solution architects, and yeah, mainly working actually with energy customers and media customers for a year. But my background is kind of a bit the reason I'm having a bit of the fault that this is a transportation topic today. But yeah, we're gonna get into it in a second.
Excellent. Thanks. So let's discuss a little bit the use case. So what is the use case and why did you build the solution you built?
Yeah, exactly. So to outline this a bit, I think two factors play a role. The one thing is that we wanted to do something with transportation, where I said I did a PhD with applied machine learning in transportation area. So it's, as said, a bit my fault that it's transportation. But that's the one hand to do an application in that area that we can also show customers and people who want to build something in that direction. And that I think goes into the second topic where also I think we have a lot to do with customers. And I think there are two parties right now out there, customers that already have a Gen AI team where people are very capable of using the frameworks out there, building something. And then other companies, which is fully understandable, right? Where you want to get started with Gen AI, but you maybe don't have the in-house capabilities. And I think that use case is very simple. It's really like that, but that's also why it resonated and resonates quite well because Databricks has capabilities that you can get started very easily if you don't have done this 10 times before. And also, if you have, then still it's a very good starting point to have already code ready and you can go further beyond that then. Yeah.
But what is the use case?
What's the use case? I didn't answer that, right? So second part of the question, thanks Maria, is really that we said, hey, we all have kind of an app on our phone where we can check train connections. So some people would now say, okay, why do you really need an agent for that? I can't just do that on my own, right? But on the one hand, it would be nice to maybe, I don't know, you have a Teams integration. You can just quickly, when you finish up work, check, hey, when is the next train leaving from station A to my home? And thinking one step further, even if you have multi-agent systems, right? This could be just one piece of a bigger orchestrated tech piece that has this capability of doing that. And I'm just thinking of travel bookings, or maybe even you have an agent where you ask your bank something. It's like, okay, how do I get to that next in-person, how do you say, bank facility, right? So just a few use cases there. And that's where we started with saying, okay, how do we build a travel agent? And I then found in Switzerland, there is an API for getting train connections. For the Swiss Railway Federation, there is really just an API with 3 endpoints. The one is getting the locations of the train stations, so we didn't care too much about that. And then there are two further ones. The one is getting a connection from A to B or from A to B via C. And there's also getting the station port. So that's really, if you are at the train station, we always have these big screens where it's like, what are the arrivals? What are the departures? So that API is just simply delivering that. And then the idea was really to say, okay, actually that payload that this API gives us, that's already very useful for an LLM then to kind of figure out an answer of saying, I want to go from Zurich to Geneva, for example. And that's on a high level already the architecture. So you have an agent. Then in Databricks, you have UC functions, so Unity Catalog functions that are basically the tech piece to do this API call. And then as we're going to see in the demo, then you can create an agent, very simple, include that tool that is a short tech piece, short code piece, sorry. And then it does the API call when it's needed because of the prompt and gives you back, for example, a train connection.
I want a travel agent that allows me to check when I book a plane what my luggage allowance is. I hate having to check like the size and how much luggage I can have. So yeah, that's really cool.
We also, I think in the blog, we mentioned this, that obviously trains are just one part of the story, right? So you could not only do this in Switzerland, but also in Germany, France, UK, you name it. But also, for example, Skyscanner has an API for getting flight connections, or like what you just mentioned, Laura, right? So plenty of possibilities with kind of getting started in an easy way, as we show.
And so what kind of personas would find it interesting? And then maybe we can dive a bit deeper on the architecture. of the solution that you build?
Exactly. So I think, as I already outlined before, I think it's really two types of personas. So on the one hand, I also worked with a customer that I showed the blog to them, and they immediately had like 5, 10 ideas how they could use this and take it to their own applications and the energy domain in that space, in that example. And these were really AI engineers. So people who then said, okay, this is very cool because as also Merve going to show in the demo, you don't necessarily need to open a new notebook and install the libraries and really start from scratch. You can actually prototype quite quickly and then go from there and export the code and then take it further from there. So I think that's the first persona. And as said, the use case doesn't have to be transportation. We did something very similar in the energy space, which was from the application point of view completely different, but same simple architecture. And the second part, which I also notice, which also we notice a lot, is that people hear about Gen AI and they want to do something. But it's not so easy to get started, especially in a space where things evolve so quickly and there is new frameworks literally every week, it feels like. And when you go to the Databricks platform in the UI, you have really that capabilities to, in the UI, click things together, write code, but not like a full-fledged software project. And I realized that it takes away the hurdle a bit for the second persona, which is people who are an AI engineer or software engineer and do this in their everyday life. So I think it kind of addresses both people, what we have noticed.
Okay, so we are saying then that the first thing is we are defining an easy, simple architecture that then you can take and you can apply different problems on top. And then on the Databricks point of view, how can we help people kickstart this use case or POC with very specific tools and then get the code out of this?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's, totally.
Amazing.
Data engineers can tackle the problem. You don't need to be an AI specialist. And it's a lot of engineering problems that you need to solve when you need to build an agentic workflow, for example. So I totally agree with what you said. In the end, data engineering is really core to building
It's very interesting that you mentioned data engineer because I had also one contact where we also talked about this blog. And then that person said, hey, could I then just go ahead and check, like do a simple piece like you did, but it's not answering me train connections, but rather if all my Databricks jobs have failed or who have ran through over the night, could I do this and check in the morning? And I mean, the answer is simply yes, because we have an API for this. So you could go the simple flow and build this. And as you said, it would have been a data engineer, not in touch with Gen AI every day, but with this, you have a way to do this in an easy way.
Should we go through the architectural pieces, like what kind of APIs, how did you orchestrate all of this, and then to the demo?
Yes. So I'm happy to share the blog that we wrote that is also online on the community platform of Databricks. So Merve and I wrote this together. So in the end, as we just discussed, building an AI-powered travel agent with Databricks. And when you go through this flowchart, so to speak, what we did is we have the transport API. As said, there are 3 endpoints. We use 2 of them, which is getting the connections and also getting the station port. And what we do then, which is further down in the blog with 2 simple functions that we implement in Unity Catalog, we then register these 2 Unity Catalog functions, and we name the first one get connections, and the second one get station port. So as said, connection A to B and get station port is, I think we limited in the implementation to get the next 10 departures and the next 10 arrivals of any train station you choose in Switzerland. These 2 UC functions are then in Unity Catalog. The cool thing is that you can also govern these. So who is allowed to use it, who is not allowed to use it. And as Merve gonna show, we didn't then went straight to a notebook, import the framework of your choice and started implementing stuff. We went to the Playground, which is a UI. You choose your model, you choose the functions. So these 2, connections and get station port, you add them in the Playground, and then you can start asking questions. And the cool thing is it doesn't end there, but there is a way to export that code. So if you play around, you then get a full definition of the agent that you just built in the UI in code, plus also some evaluation examples already, because Databricks has this agent evaluation framework to not only build the agents with the agent framework, but also to evaluate, to then deploy it and to monitor it. And that notebook contains really this end-to-end story. So it defines your agent. In the middle, it's about evaluation. And in the end, it's about registering it in Unity catalog. So it joins again towards the governance story, and then you can deploy it. And this is also the last piece here, then deploying it, and then the evaluation then comes afterwards. Sorry, you can deploy it, and also the evaluation is here part of this. And if we go further down, as said in this blog, we explain again what I just already said is the connection, the API endpoints, so locations, connection, and station port. We use the two latter ones. And then the UC functions, I'm just going to scroll down here, are really just basically this. And let us have a look at this one. So you create in Unity catalog. So we have a travel agent catalog, the train agent schema, and then get connections from station to station via station. And then it returns a string. And here is basically the Python, or the body of the function, which is in Python, that calls this API endpoint, fills in the parameters. You check if you really get a status code of 200, which is success. And then you get the JSON response. And I mean, it's a POC, right? So we don't do any further here. We just dump all the payload that is coming from the API back. The LLM crafts the response from that. One piece to highlight here is really there is a lot of string documentation pieces around. These are particularly important because they help the LLM on a high level, so to speak, to see, okay, the comment here is really saying execute a call to, so it's describing what that function does. And this is particularly important then for the agent to figure out, the user asks me for this, I can use this function. And in the blog, then it's very similar for the get station port. So I actually lied earlier. It's not 10, it's 15, the limit we set here. But the concept, as you see, is really similar. Right? So again, we have a URL to a REST API endpoint. We set a few parameters, we shoot it there, we get the response back, and then we also return that and say, LLM craft is agent, and LLM craft an answer to that. And I think the rest of the blog is really also then kind of, if I zoom out a bit, a guide, so to speak, how you can do this in the UI, right? And I think Merve is going to show exactly as we outlined already here on the GIFs, how this could look like. And yeah, I think this is more than you can go back to this blog and read and pretty much do it by yourself. If you like.
If
What
you
I
go
love
back a
about
little bit to your architecture, or to connect the dots with what we said in the beginning, this architecture is the framework you said that can be reused. And the only thing people need to change really to make it relevant to their business and their use cases are these UC functions that you have implemented. So these are functions that really hit APIs. Theoretically, people would go and hit any API. It's available in the world, wrap it in UC function, and then build their use case around it. And obviously, it doesn't have to be only APIs, right? So it can be accessing data that you have in Unity catalog. It can be other APIs, other tools in Databricks like Genie Spaces. So you can build it as complicated as you want.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Like you can connect your internal data, obviously, whether it's structured or unstructured. So you could query a vector index, or you could query, as you say, like Genie spaces or even tables directly. And the permissions is like a question we get constantly from a lot of developers around. Like, how do I govern all this? I love that you're like assign permissions to those functions. So this is really nice.
To just add on here, that's why we also, what you just mentioned, fully agree, and we added this here, right? So there are basically 4 types of functions or tools you could implement with this approach. And we just used the last one here, which is called external connection tools, connecting to an API and do some work. But there is also, as you already perfectly outlined, unstructured data retrieval, structured data, or code interpreter. So if it's just a SQL query, right, then you can just implement that. It's a function. It does some filter, some select, whatever, where, filtering, maybe some joins. You do this, and it's the same procedure, right? So not limited to APIs. You kind of have these 4 big groups here, which open up, a world of connecting to systems, data, whatever.
Excellent. Merve, ready?
Yes.
Let's
Want to see the demo now?
Yes.
Thanks, Alex, for this great introduction. And now let's see all these in action. So in our blog, we show also our GitHub repository where you can start developing all these in your Databricks workspace. So this is our GitHub repository, which includes a notebook for these function implementations, an example system prompt, and a driver notebook that is generated by our Playground. So you have all those ingredients to build this travel agent. So what you need to do is simply click to here and then clone this repository to our workspace. I have already done this here. So you see now our function implementations notebook. All you need to do while implementing this is changing the catalog and the schema name. Then the rest is available in here. As Alex mentioned, we have this create function code for both the get connections functions and get station board functions. And as Alex mentioned, I want to emphasize adding comments helps the supervisor agent to understand which function to call when a user asks a question. So when we run these codes, we will see those functions also in our unit catalog. So this is our unit catalog, and under the functions tab, we see the two functions that are registered. So the rest is really easy, actually. So if you want to create this agent without writing any code, all we need to do is under AI ML section, click to this playground here. And from here, we need to select the supervisor model that we are going to use for our agents. And here we can use an example model, this one. And we need to add our functions as a tool. So let's click to add tool. You can add different kinds of tools, but since this is our unit catalog function, I will be keeping this tab. Let's try it out.
I've seen the GPT open source models that were just released 2 days ago available already now. That's really cool.
Exactly. So this is the functions that we have just registered to units catalog. Let's save this. So the next thing we can do as well, adding a system prompt. And in our GitHub repository, we also have this example. So let's go there, click to system prompt, and you can copy and paste this to your Playground agent here. And simply you have your agent that you can start talking with. So I've already created one here and asked some questions, such as find the next train from Zurich to Bern. So our agent is thinking and then says, I need to retrieve the next available train connection. First, it understands the question and then decides which function to use. So for this case, it will be calling get connections function. And we see the steps that it's taking while thinking. And here we see the answer. The next train from Zurich is departures at that time, arrives at that time, and all the other necessary details. So let's ask another question. What are the next 3 trains leaving from Geneva? So this time, our agent says, I need to call for a different function, which is get station board. And it also describes different train types and different train options leaving Geneva. So our user can decide which one to choose. So let's say we are happy with the performance of this agent. So we can also log this model by using MLflow, deploy it by using our agent framework, and also run evaluations by using our evaluation framework as well. And for this, all you need to do is click to this get code and then create our agent notebook. When we click to this, we will be automatically seeing a driver notebook.
Which is the notebook you already had in GitHub.
Exactly. So let's go back to the notebooks that I have. So we also have this driver notebook here.
So if someone wants to just work from GitHub, they don't have to go through the Playground and export the code. You have already exported.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's true. Exactly. But I wanted to also show an example of clicking to this create agent notebook and then seeing the driver that is already created for us. So here we see a tool calling agent notebook. All the necessary explanations are also mentioned in here, and it starts with calling necessary libraries. And as you see, in default, we are using MLflow version 3 now, which is the latest MLflow version that we have. So the rest is very simple. All you need to do is fill some the necessary to-do areas and then run all these cells. So we start defining the agent code here. And under the hood, we are using LangChain and LangGraph. And since we have already added our system prompt while defining our agent in the playground, it's also shown in here.
Okay, so it just use the same system prompt you attached in the playground.
And as you see, we also have our defined unit catalog functions here. We call for UC function toolkit, which leverages our unit catalog functions. And as discussed, if you want to add more tools, such as if you want to use unstructured data, you can also use our vector search retrieval tool. So for now, since we are not using it, it's commented out. But if you want to add more features, we also give you the code. Then the rest is creating the tool calling agent and defining the agent. So when you run this code, you will have your agent ready for testing. We also show some examples of testing the agent. So if you want to have different queries, then you can simply change it here and then run this. And with our MLflow Trace UI, you can also see how your agent is thinking and what are the sub-steps it's taking to generate these answers. Also, you can see the inputs and outputs. And if you want to understand the duration of each step, you can also click to execution timeline tab.
Yes, that can show you, like, for example, which tool is taking longer than the other, or where, in any case, as it reasons, most time is spent.
Exactly. You can debug your steps. Here is another example of asking a question to our agent. And you can log your agent as an MLflow model to deploy it to run evaluations as well. So we also provide an example code for this.
Okay, so this, what it does is, instead of you going into a playground, choosing the model, and then attaching all the tools, we just wrap it all under one wrapper, let's say, where then
Exactly.
if you go to the playground, you can just attach this now already wrapped model as one big artifact.
So we have our agent as a Python model, and here we wrap this as an ML by using MLflow. And after we log our model, we can evaluate our agent. So for this, we can use our MLflow GenAI.evaluate function. So it needs a few ingredients, such as an evaluation data set. So here, I have added some example questions, such as when is the next train from Zurich to Bern, or can I travel without a ticket from somewhere to another place? And here, there is an example of calling MLflow.GenAI.evaluate function. We provide our evaluation data set and which scorers that we want to use under the hood. And by calling this MLflow.GenAI.evaluate function, we actually call for another LLM to judge our created agent.
One point here to say is that the way you have built your evaluation data set says that the expecting responses is none. So this means that we don't provide in this evaluation ground truth. So if you don't want truth, there are specific scorers that you can use. For example, the safety and relevance to query are scores that they don't require ground truth. Whereas there are other scores that only work if ground truth is provided. So yeah, depending how you build your evaluation data set, you may have more options for scorers to pass if you have ground truth.
Exactly. And after you run your evaluations, you can see those results under the experiments tab. Here, you see the asked question, what's the request, what's the response. We also provide you other details, such as the number of tokens or the execution time. And here you see the assessments made by our LLM as judge. What you can do is, with the new features of MLflow 3, you can also compare your runs with different runs. Let's say you used different prompts or a different LLM model. You can compare their performances by clicking here, for example.
I love
you can
this
see all
because-
those in different colors. Yeah.
I love this because when you build something, there's so many moving parts, and also depending on your use case or company. People have different concerns. Some want really low latency. Some have a very limited budget. So for example, if you have a limited budget, I imagine you can go and see where you use a lot of tokens and see if you can like reduce that. Whereas if you want really low latency, you can go and debug to see which part of the pipeline takes too long. Can we actually remove it? So it's really neat that then you can compare the different runs and see which one is best for you and your use case.
Exactly. That's true. You can also register your prompts.
Oh, this is the prompt registry, Merve. We haven't really saw this yet. Can you explain a little bit what this part is?
So with the new MLflow 3 enhancements and announcements, now you can keep track of the traces, evaluations, create some labeling data sets, see different versions of your registered model, or you can register the prompts so that you can compare them and their performances easily. We also have this monitoring information where you can track the performance of your agents, which is in production. So regarding registering prompts, you need to call for MLflow register prompt function, and then you can add your register prompt by writing its name to here. Then whenever you add a new version of your prompt, you will see this in the UI. If you want, you can compare them to understand what are the differences.
But this button optimize, that sounds really cool. What do you optimize for? Is it going to reduce the prompt so that you use
Is the
less tokens?
DSPy, the DSPy optimization.
DSPy, yeah.
Exactly. So you can, if you want to optimize your prompts, you can follow these steps and then optimize. Exactly. So let's jump back to our notebook here.
Maybe just to add here, also pinning back to the fact that the driver notebook is a very good starting point, right? It is. But for example, when we think about the system prompt, it was just included as a string above in assigned, right? And if then someone comes said, okay, this is nice, but you know what, I'm doing things my way because I used the prompt registry. You can just, even then it's a starting point, you edit that thing out, you change it, right? And you go your way. Even there are things mapped together again.
And this
Exactly.
export button is always getting updated, right? So when the prompt registry is more of a real thing and not in a beta,
Yeah,
it's gonna be part of the export button. So good point.
I would say so too. Exactly. Yeah.
And let's say you analyze your evaluation results and you say, my model is ready to register, to deploy for production. Then here we have, first we need to register our model to Unity catalog, and we provide this example code here. And afterwards, you can deploy your agent by calling our agent framework, by calling this agent.deploy function. So when you run this, you will have your model serving endpoint ready. So this is the model serving endpoint created for us. You see all the necessary details here. And if you want to use this model serving endpoint, we show you different options. You can try this in the playground again, or you can open a review app by using this model serving endpoint to include human reviewers into the loop as well. And I have an example for this. So when we use this review app and ask some questions, we see again all the sub-steps that our model or agent is taking, the generated answer, and our users can provide some feedback, such as, is this a good response or not? If yes, why you picked yes, or if no, why you picked no. So we can use those feedbacks in order to evaluate our model further and improve its performance.
Nice. So you can use it as kind of prompt iteration dataset, or even fine tuning if someone wants to try.
Exactly. So these are the features that we wanted to show you regarding our blog today. And thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks both.
Yeah.